Dr. Jason Carter had always dreamed of working among the stars. A young scientist from Earth, he had been sent to Outpost Theta 9, a small research station on the edge of human space. The outpost was on a quiet planet with red skies, endless, rock fields, and very little life. It was peaceful, but also very lonely. Jason spent his days studying soil samples and scanning the skies for strange signals. He liked his quiet life. There were only 4 other people on the station, and they rarely talked. The isolation didn't bother him until he got sick. It started with a small headache. Then came the dizziness. Within a day, Jason could barely stand. His hands shook and his skin turned pale. The station's doctor, a robot assistant, ran all the tests. But the results were confusing. No bacteria, no virus, nothing from Earth. Could explain it. "You have a foreign infection," the robot said in its flat voice. "Unknown origin. No treatment available." Jason lay on his bunk, sweating and weak. His vision blurred. The lights above him seemed too bright. His heart pounded like it was trying to escape his chest. "Will I die?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Chances of survival? Low," the robot answered coldly. That night, Jason expected to sleep and not wake up, but something strange happened. At midnight, the alarm system beeped. A signal came from outside the station. Something was approaching fast. The other crew members rushed to the control room. Through the window, they saw a small silver ship landing in the dust. It had no markings. It looked nothing like any human design. Jason heard footsteps enter the room. A tall figure stepped into the station, graceful, glowing slightly in the dim light. She had smooth blue skin, bright violet eyes, and wore a robe made of shimmering fabric. She looked strange but not scary. "My name is Valora," she said calmly. "I am a healer from the Zintar people. One of your kind is sick. I have come to help." The others hesitated. Aliens were known to humans, but very few had visited human colonies directly, and none had come without warning. Still, no one had any other ideas. Jason was getting worse by the hour. They led Valora to Jason's room. She stood quietly by his bed, looking at him with kind eyes. "He is dying," she said softly. "But I can heal him." The robot doctor beeped in protest. "Unknown alien treatment not advised. Human biology may be damaged." Valora ignored it. She reached into a small pouch and pulled out a silver orb. It hovered over Jason's chest and scanned his body. Lights blinked. The orb made a soft, humming sound. "His body is fighting a molecular infection," she explained. "This is not a natural disease. It comes from the planet's core, something ancient, buried deep underground. Your technology cannot cure it." Jason tried to speak, but he could only cough. "Don't be afraid," Valora said gently. "I will use a method your people may not understand. But it works." She looked at the crew. "With his permission, I will begin the treatment." Jason looked at her glowing face. He didn't know who she really was. He didn't know if her treatment would work. But he was out of options. Slowly, he nodded. "Yes," he whispered. "Please, help me." Valora leaned closer. She opened a small pouch on her belt and removed a clear, glowing liquid. She held it in her hand. "This is part of me," she said. "My body creates it naturally. It contains healing enzymes, special elements that bond with living cells. In my people's tradition, this is how we heal the sick." Jason watched her carefully. The liquid sparkled with tiny lights like stars trapped in water. Then Valora did something unexpected. She touched her tongue to the liquid. Then she gently pressed her fingers to Jason's forehead and chest, leaving a trail of the glowing substance on his skin. The liquid sank into his skin almost immediately. It was cool at first, then warm. A strange feeling moved through his body, like energy flowing into every cell. His pain began to fade. His breathing became easier. The tightness in his chest relaxed. The others stared in silence. No one spoke. Even the robot stopped beeping. Jason looked up at Valora. "What did you do?" I shared part of my life with you, she said. You are not just healed, you are changing. Jason blinked. What do you mean, changing? But she didn't answer. She only smiled gently and placed a hand on his shoulder. Rest, she said. The healing has only begun. Jason opened his eyes slowly. The light above him felt softer now. His head was clear, and the pain in his body was almost gone. He could breathe without effort. He looked around and saw Valora sitting beside him, her eyes calm and glowing. You're awake, she said kindly. Jason sat up slowly. I feel better. Not just better. I feel strong. Valora nodded. Your body accepted the healing. That is a good sign. Jason looked at his hands. They didn't shake anymore. His skin looked healthier. He could feel energy moving through his body like warm waves. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before. What was that liquid? He asked. It healed me so fast. Valora smiled. It is part of my biology. My people call it 7. We create it naturally. It is found in our saliva and used in our healing rituals. It connects to living cells and helps the body repair itself. Jason looked surprised. You mean, the healing came from your saliva? Yes, Valora answered. But it is more than that. 7 is alive in its own way. It bonds with the body. It learns. It heals. The idea felt strange to Jason. On Earth, medicine came in pills or machines. Healing with something from another person's body, especially from an alien, was almost unthinkable. But it had worked. There was no denying that. Is it safe? He asked. What if my body reacts badly later? You are not the first human I have helped, Valora said gently. But you are the first to respond this quickly. Your body is special. It adapts well. Jason didn't know what to say. He felt grateful but also confused. Why did you help me? You don't even know me. Valora looked at him for a moment, then spoke softly. Because it is the right thing to do. My people have watched humans from afar. We see your courage, your desire to learn, and your kindness. You have great potential, but sometimes you need help, just like we once did. Jason leaned back, thinking about her words. He had never thought of humans as needing help from aliens. Earth had always tried to be strong, proud, independent. But now, sitting across from someone who had saved his life, he saw things differently. Outside the room, the crew members watched from the hallway. They were still unsure about Valora. They whispered among themselves, wondering if her methods were safe or if Jason had been changed in some strange way. Later that day, Jason walked around the station for the first time in days. His steps were steady. His mind felt sharp. He noticed things he hadn't seen before. The way the walls hummed softly, the way the air smelled slightly of metal. Even the stars outside the windows looked clearer, brighter. Valora joined him in the observation room. She stood silently, looking out into space. Jason turned to her. You said this healing changes people. What do you mean? Valora looked thoughtful. The Sivan doesn't just fix what is broken. It also improves what is weak. It helps your body grow stronger. Your mind becomes faster. Your senses become more aware. It is not just a cure. It is an evolution. Jason blinked. Are you saying I'm evolving? In a way, yes, she said. Not suddenly, but slowly. The healing begins a process inside you. It may take time, but you will notice the changes. Jason wasn't sure how to feel. On one hand, he was alive. On the other, he was now something more than just human. Was that a gift or a risk? Will others be afraid of me? He asked quietly. Some might be, Valora said honestly. Not all are ready for change. But you must decide who you are. What you do with this new strength is up to you. Jason nodded. Her words made sense. He had always believed in using science to help others. Maybe now he had a chance to do more than that. Later that evening, He returned to his room and looked at his reflection in the mirror. His eyes looked brighter. His skin was smoother. He smiled a little. He felt like himself, but also something new. He sat on the bed and opened a journal he kept during his time on the station. On the first page he wrote, Day 1, after the healing. I don't know what I'm becoming, but I survived. And I will find out what this new path means. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine, and somewhere in the quiet darkness of space, a new future was beginning. One where humans and aliens might work together in ways no one had imagined before. Jason closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He was ready for whatever came next. Days passed after Valora's healing, and Jason began to notice something strange. It wasn't just that he felt better. It wasn't just the fact that his body had healed so quickly. Something else was changing, something he couldn't explain. It started with his senses. He had always been a scientist, used to observing things with precision. But now every detail seemed clearer, sharper. He could hear the hum of the station's systems more clearly, the soft buzz of the lights above, and even the whispers of the crew members walking down the hall. The way the air moved, how it smelled, it all seemed different. One morning, Jason walked into the mess hall to grab some breakfast. As he entered, he immediately noticed the quiet conversation happening between the crew members. He didn't mean to listen, but their words felt so clear as if they were speaking right next to him. Can't believe she actually used her saliva on him, one of them whispered. Jason's eyes narrowed. He didn't like the sound of that, but before he could think about it, another voice caught his attention. He looks different. Have you seen him lately? It's like he's glowing, like his body is healing faster than anyone thought possible. Jason sat at the table, his mind racing. He wasn't just feeling different. He was being treated differently. The crew's whispers, their stares, they all made him feel like an outsider. His thoughts were interrupted by Valora walking into the room, her soft steps almost silent against the floor. Jason, may I speak with you? She asked. Jason stood up, his mind still spinning from what he had overheard. Of course, Valora. They walked to a quieter part of the station, where the noise of the crew couldn't reach them. Valora turned to him, her violet eyes studying him closely. Jason, I've noticed the changes in you, she said gently. Your healing is progressing faster than I expected. Your body is adapting to the 7 in ways even my people did not predict. Jason wasn't sure if he should be happy or scared. You said I would change, but this is more than I imagined. My senses, I can hear things I never could before. I feel stronger, faster. Even my thoughts feel clearer. Valora nodded. That is the nature of the Sevon. It does not just heal, it evolves. It enhances what was already there. You are becoming something more. Jason took a deep breath. More. But what does that mean? Am I still human? Valora's expression softened. You are human, but you are also changing. You have the potential to be much more than you ever imagined. Your body is evolving, adapting to new strengths. It is a gift and a burden. Jason's mind was full of questions. What if I can't control it? What if this change is too much? You must learn to control it, Valora replied. If you don't, your body could grow unstable, but with time, you will learn. I will help you. Over the next few days, Jason began to experiment with his new abilities. He spent hours walking around the station, testing his senses. He could hear the faintest sounds, the click of a keypad being pressed, the movement of someone in another room. He could see tiny details with perfect clarity, the pattern of dust in the air, the small changes in his own reflection. One night, as he walked down a narrow corridor, he heard something strange. A faint noise, a soft scratching. He turned quickly, scanning the darkness. For a moment there was nothing, but then he saw it. A small creature, no bigger than a rat, was moving along the edge of the wall. It scurried quickly into a crack between the floor and the wall. Jason's heart raced. He hadn't even heard the creature until it was right next to him. But now that he knew what to look for, He could sense the slightest movement in the air, the smallest changes in the environment. The next morning, he told Valora what had happened. "You are becoming more aware of your surroundings," she said, a hint of pride in her voice. "That is part of the transformation. You are learning to use your enhanced senses." Jason thought about it for a moment. "I'm not sure I want to be this different. I didn't ask for this." Valora placed a hand on his shoulder. "No one ever asks for change, but it is happening. You have the power to choose how you use it. Will you run from it, or will you embrace it?" Jason stood in silence, looking out the window at the stars. He had always prided himself on his independence, on his control over his own life. But now he felt as if something was happening to him, something he couldn't stop. "What happens next?" Jason asked, turning back to her. Valora's eyes sparkled with wisdom. "Next, you will begin to learn how to control these new abilities. Your mind and body will become stronger. You will be able to do things that seem impossible to others. And one day, you will understand your true purpose in all of this." Jason felt both excitement and fear. He had no idea what the future held, but he knew one thing. He wasn't the same person who had arrived on Outpost Theta 9. He had changed, and the future, his future, was wide open. Jason couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As the days passed, the changes to his body grew more noticeable. His enhanced senses, his new strength, everything felt like it was moving too fast. He couldn't deny the power growing inside him, but there were times when he felt like a stranger in his own skin. The crew members on the station had become more distant. At first, they had been curious about the healing process, but now Jason noticed whispers behind closed doors. He could hear their voices clearly in the hallway, their words like knives cutting through the air. What's happening to him? It's like he's not even the same person anymore. Is he really human? Or is he something else? Jason didn't know what bothered him more, the fear in their voices or the way they looked at him when they thought he wasn't listening. They were afraid. He could feel it, the way they avoided eye contact, the way they gave him space as if he might explode at any moment. He had been feeling like an outsider ever since Valora's healing. But it wasn't just the crew's reaction that troubled him. It was something deeper, something about the way Valora had been acting. She seemed kind and patient, but Jason couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't telling him. One afternoon, as the sun set over the dusty planet, Jason found himself walking toward Valora's quarters. He had to ask her. He had to know what was really going on. There were too many questions in his mind, and it felt like she was hiding something from him. When he reached her door, he hesitated for a moment. But then, without thinking, he knocked. A few moments later, the door opened and Valora stood in the doorway, her glowing eyes soft but curious. "Jason," she said with a gentle smile, "is something troubling you?" Jason met her gaze, trying to keep his voice steady. "Valora, I need to know more. About the Sivon, about what it's doing to me, and why you came here in the first place." Valora's smile faded slightly, her eyes darkening with something Jason couldn't place. "Come in," she said quietly. "We should talk." Jason stepped inside, feeling the tension in the air. The room was filled with strange symbols and alien artifacts. The air smelled faintly of herbs, and a soft hum came from a device in the corner, flashing with light. It was all so foreign, yet oddly comforting. "I know you've been through a lot," Valora began, "and I understand your concerns, but the changes you are experiencing are part of a greater purpose." Jason frowned. "Purpose? What do you mean? You told me you were helping me. But I'm not just healing. I'm becoming something else." Valora sighed and sat down at a small table. She gestured for Jason to sit across from her. "Jason, I came to Earth a long time ago," she said, her voice serious. "My people have watched humanity for centuries. We have studied your potential. You are a young species, still learning, still growing. But you have something that no other species has, something we've been waiting for." Jason leaned forward. "What are you talking about? What have you been waiting for?" Valora's eyes darkened, and she looked away for a moment as if considering how much to reveal. The 7. It is not just a healing tool. It is a way of accelerating evolution. It brings out the true potential within a species. Your kind is on the edge of greatness, Jason. The 7 will help unlock your full potential. But it is not just for you. It is for all of humanity. Jason's heart began to race. You're saying this was all part of some plan? That you came here to change us? Valora nodded. Yes, my people have watched over Earth for many years. We have seen your progress, but there is a danger. A threat that lies ahead, one that only you, humans, can face. But to do so, you must evolve. You must be stronger, faster, more adaptable. The 7 is the first step. I am the first of many who will help your people prepare for what is coming. Jason felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of threat? And why me? Why not anyone else? Because you are the one who was chosen, Valora said, her voice softer now. You, Jason, are a bridge. You are the first human to receive the 7 treatment, and you will lead the way. Once you have fully evolved, you will guide your people into the next stage of their existence. Jason's mind was racing. A plan to change humanity. A hidden agenda. The questions piled up, but he couldn't make sense of it all. But what if I don't want to change? Jason said, his voice rising. What if I don't want to lead anyone into some unknown future? Valora looked at him sadly. You don't have a choice, Jason. The 7 has already begun its work. You are already changing, and you will either accept this transformation or risk losing everything. Jason felt a wave of anger rise in him. You didn't ask me. You didn't. Give me a choice, I know, Valora said quietly, and for that I am sorry, but the future of humanity is at stake. It is not just about healing. It is about survival. The 7 will make you stronger, more capable. You will be able to see things no human has ever seen before, and you will understand your purpose. Jason stood up, his fists clenched. This isn't my purpose. I don't want to be part of some grand plan. Valora stood too, her expression softening. I never wanted to force this on you, Jason, but there are forces out there beyond our control that threaten your world. If you refuse this path, you risk everything. Jason felt the weight of her words, but in his heart he knew one thing. No matter what, he would fight for his humanity. He wouldn't let anyone, alien or not, decide his future for him. Jason did not sleep that night. He stood at the window of his room, staring out into the stars. The conversation with Valora kept echoing in his mind. She had said he was chosen, that the 7 was a key to evolution, that a great danger was coming. But no one had asked him. No one had told him before they changed his body. They had simply decided. He touched his chest where the injury had once been. Now there was nothing. No scar, no pain, only strength. Was he still human? The next morning, Jason went to the training room. He needed to clear his head. The station had a small gym for astronauts to stay fit in low gravity. Jason picked up a set of weights that had once been a challenge for him. He lifted them with ease. He blinked in surprise and added more weight, then more, and more. By the time he stopped, he was lifting far more than a normal human should be able to. His muscles didn't even feel sore. His strength had grown. Not only that, but his balance and speed had improved too. He moved faster, reacted quicker. When he threw a punch at the padded wall, the impact shook the room. He sat down on the bench, breathing heavily, not from exhaustion but from shock. What am I becoming? He whispered. The door opened. Commander Ellis walked in. He was in charge of Outpost Theta 9, and one of the few people Jason respected deeply. I heard you've been spending more time in here, Ellis said, crossing his arms. Jason nodded, trying to figure things out. Ellis walked closer, watching him carefully. You're not the same person who came here 2 weeks ago. I know, Jason replied. That's what scares me. You were dying, and now you're stronger than anyone on this station, maybe stronger than anyone on Earth. Ellis's voice was calm, But strength means nothing if you don't understand how to use it. Jason sighed. I didn't ask for this, Commander. No. But maybe this isn't about what you asked for. Maybe it's about what's needed. Jason looked up. Do you trust her, Valora? Ellis paused before answering. I don't know. But I trust you. You've always put the mission first. You care about people. That hasn't changed, has it? Jason thought for a long moment. No, it hadn't. He still cared. He still wanted to help others. But now he didn't know how. Later that day, Valora called him to the medical bay. When Jason arrived, she was standing near a glowing blue screen, looking at his latest test. Results. Your body is changing rapidly, she said without turning around. Your cells are now producing a small amount of 7 on their own. Jason was shocked. Wait, my body is creating it? Yes, she replied. That means you are becoming something new, something powerful. And soon, your mind will change too. Jason didn't like the sound of that. My mind, what do you mean? Valora looked at him seriously. You may begin to see things, hear thoughts, sense emotions. It is not dangerous, but it will feel different. Like a door opening. Jason clenched his fists. I don't want to lose myself. You won't, she said softly. But you must accept that you are no longer only human. You are something more. That doesn't make you a monster, it makes you a bridge. Jason turned away, his mind spinning. Suddenly, he felt something. A wave of emotion, fear, confusion, anger, not from inside him, but around him. He turned back, to Valora. Did you feel that? She nodded. It's starting. Your mind is awakening. Jason felt his heart race. I felt someone's fear. But who? Just then, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed across the hallway outside. The station shook slightly. This is Commander Ellis, a voice echoed through the speakers. We have unidentified ships approaching the station. Everyone to emergency stations. Jason and Valora ran into the hallway. The crew was already moving, preparing for possible contact. Jason looked through the window. 3 dark ships were approaching fast. No known markings. Valora's face turned pale. No, it's too soon. Jason turned to her. You know who they are? She nodded. They are called the Drovaks, a warlike species. They destroy planets, take resources, and leave nothing behind. Jason's eyes narrowed. Are they the danger you were preparing us for? Yes, Valora said. And they're not just coming to visit. They're here to conquer. Outside, the ships came closer. Jason could feel the fear spreading across the station. But deep inside, something else was rising in him. Not fear, determination. The Sivan inside him pulsed, as if it sensed the threat too. I'm not running, Jason said. I've been changed. I didn't ask for it, but maybe this is why. He looked at the incoming ships. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm ready to fight. Valora looked at him, her voice soft but firm. Then let's begin. The station trembled slightly as the Drovak ships came closer. Jason could feel his pulse quicken, his heart thumping in his chest. Valora stood next to him, her eyes narrowed in focus. She wasn't afraid, but Jason could sense her concern. The Drovaks weren't just a threat, they were a nightmare. They'll land within the hour, she said, her voice steady but urgent. Once they're on the ground, they'll begin their attack. They don't care about negotiation or diplomacy. They want resources, anything they can take. Jason turned to her. And we're supposed to just sit here and wait for them to attack? Valora's eyes glowed with a soft light. You are not just sitting here. You are the key. You, Jason, can protect the station. Jason swallowed. How? What can I do? The Sivan has enhanced you, she replied. You can move faster, think clearer, and sense things that others cannot. You will have abilities beyond normal human limits, but you must use them wisely. Jason didn't feel like a hero. He felt scared, unsure of himself. But he knew one thing. He wouldn't let the Drovaks destroy everything, not if he could stop them. "I'll do what I can," he said quietly. Together, they headed toward the command center. The crew was already in full emergency mode, preparing for the worst. Commander Ellis was there, standing with a group of officers. They looked at Jason as he entered. "Jason," Ellis said, his voice tense, "we're trying to prepare for the Drovaks' landing. We have limited weapons, and we don't know their full capabilities. But we have to be ready." Jason nodded. "What do we have?" Ellis motioned to a large display screen showing the ships approaching the station. "We have small weapon systems, but they're not designed for something like this. We'll have to fight them off with whatever we can." Valora stepped forward. "That won't be enough. The Drovaks will overpower you with their technology, but Jason can do more than fight with weapons. He can fight with his mind." The crew turned to her, surprised. Jason felt a wave of unease wash over him. "What do you mean, fight with my mind?" Valora gave him a small, encouraging smile. "The Savant has made you sensitive to emotions. You can feel them, understand them. You can influence the emotions of others, calming them, or even making them afraid. If you can use this power, you can weaken the Drovaks without needing to hurt anyone." Jason blinked. "You mean I can make them feel things, like fear?" "Yes," Valora said. "You can use your abilities to manipulate their emotions. If you can make them afraid, confused, or distracted, you'll have an advantage." Jason wasn't sure he believed it, but as the Drovak ships drew closer, he realized that this might be their only chance. Ellis spoke again. "Jason, we don't have much time. We need you to use whatever abilities you have." Jason nodded. "I'll do my best." The ships finally landed outside the station, their massive forms casting shadows over the surface. The Drovaks were coming. Jason stood near the door, his heart pounding in his chest. He focused on his breathing, trying to calm his nerves. He could hear the low hum of the station, the soft buzz of electronics. But then, something else. A strange feeling washed over him, like a ripple through the air. His senses sharpened. He could feel the Drovaks outside. He could feel their anger, their hunger. They weren't just here for resources. They were here to conquer, to destroy. But there was also fear. Fear of failure. Fear of their leader. The Drovaks were ruthless, but they were not invincible. Jason focused. He could hear their thoughts, or at least feel them. He reached out, with his mind, letting the fear he felt from the invaders grow. He amplified it, feeding it with his own fear, making it stronger. He could hear their doubts grow louder. Then, he sent a wave of confusion through them, a sense of uncertainty. Their confidence began to slip. They hesitated. Outside, the first Drovak soldiers began to move toward the station's entrance. They wore heavy armor and carried advanced weapons. But something was wrong. They stopped, looking at each other in confusion. One of them raised its weapon, but it wavered in its hand as if unsure of what to do. Jason could feel the shift in the air. The Drovaks were faltering. "They're confused," Jason whispered, barely believing what he was doing. Valora looked at him with a nod of approval. "It's working." Jason pushed harder, focusing on the emotions of the Drovak's leader, who was close now. The leader's fear was growing. Jason reached out, pushing the leader's anxiety to the surface. The leader stumbled, its confidence evaporating. For a moment, it looked as if the entire assault was about to collapse. But then, the leader shouted something in a language Jason couldn't understand. The Drovaks rallied, pushing forward once more. Jason didn't stop. He focused harder, pouring every ounce of energy into their confusion. He could feel them, their movements like ripples in water. He fed on their fear, amplifying it, making it more powerful than anything they had ever experienced. "Now," Valora said. Jason didn't wait. He closed his eyes for a moment, gathering all of his strength. He stood tall, feeling the power within him. His senses reached out like invisible threads, pulling the Drovak's leader's fear into him. The Drovak's leader hesitated, then screamed in panic, causing its forces to falter. In that moment, the crew acted. The station's defense systems fired, blasting the invaders back. Jason watched as the Drovaks scattered, unsure of what to do. Valora smiled. "You did it. You saved us." Jason exhaled, his heart still racing. "I didn't do it alone." The station was quiet again. The red emergency lights had turned off. The Drovak ships were pulling away, retreating into the dark sky. Some of their soldiers had fallen in the battle. The others had escaped, frightened and confused, unsure of what had just happened. Jason stood at the window, watching the enemy disappear into space. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from relief. He had done it. With Valora's help, and with the strange new power inside him, he had helped save the station. Not with weapons, not with violence, but with his mind and heart. Commander Ellis approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You changed everything today." Jason nodded slowly. "I still don't fully understand what I am, but maybe that doesn't matter anymore." Ellis looked at him with a small smile. "You're still one of us. You've only grown stronger and more human than ever." Jason gave a small laugh. "Funny. I feel more alien some days." "Maybe you're both now," Ellis said, "and that might be exactly what we need." Later, Jason walked to the medical bay. Valora was standing by her desk going through reports. Her long silver fingers tapped the screen as she worked. When she saw him enter, she turned and smiled gently. "You held the Drovaks back longer than I thought possible," she said. "You reached inside them. That's not easy." "I didn't know I could," Jason admitted. "I just tried to protect everyone." Valora nodded. "You succeeded." Jason looked around the room. This was where it had all started. Where she had healed him with her strange methods, where the Sevon had entered his blood, and where his life had changed forever. "Was this your plan all along?" he asked. "To turn me into some kind of weapon?" Valora shook her head. "No, my goal was to save your life. Everything else came after. But now, I believe you are meant to do more than survive. You are meant to lead." Jason looked down. "I'm not a leader." "You already are," she said softly. "People followed you today. They believed in you. That's leadership." Jason sat down on the nearby bench. His body felt calm now. No more pain, no more confusion. Just a strange sense of clarity. "I thought I lost my humanity," he said, "but maybe I found a better version of it." Valora smiled again. "Exactly." There was a long silence between them. A peaceful silence, one filled with understanding. Then Jason spoke again. "What happens now? Will the Drovaks come back?" Valora's face grew serious. "Yes, they will return, not tomorrow, not next week, but they never forget. And next time they'll bring more ships, more soldiers. They will not be as easily pushed away." Jason stood. "Then we need to be ready." "We will be," she said. "Because of you." Jason took a deep breath. "You said something before, that I was chosen. Why me?" Valora paused before answering. "Because you didn't give up, even when everything was lost. When you were wounded and dying, you still fought. I saw that. The Seven responds to strength of spirit. It chose you because you're the kind of person who puts others first." Jason looked away, humbled. "I just wanted to do what was right, and you did," she replied. A small beep sounded from the corner of the room. A message was coming in. Valora touched the screen and read the words silently. She turned back to Jason. "It's from the Galactic Council. They heard about what happened here. They want to speak with you." Jason raised his eyebrows. "Me? Why? You're the first successful human-7 hybrid, and now you've faced the Drovaks and lived. They want to understand how." Jason rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm not sure I have the answers they're looking for." Sometimes the right questions are more important, she said. Jason smiled slightly. Guess I'll find out. Later that evening, the stars above the station seemed brighter than before. Jason stood outside looking up, thinking about Earth, his home. The people there didn't know what had happened. They didn't know that the galaxy was far more dangerous and far more beautiful than they ever imagined. But maybe one day they would. Behind him, Valora stepped quietly onto the observation deck. You're thinking of home. Always, Jason said. But I don't know if I belong there anymore. Looked at him with calm eyes. You belong where your heart leads you, whether that's Earth, this station, or somewhere else among the stars. Jason nodded slowly. Maybe this is just the beginning. She smiled. I believe so. As the stars shimmered above them, Jason felt a strange peace wash over him. He was no longer afraid, no longer broken. He was healed, not just in body, but in purpose. And whatever came next, he would face it. Human or not, he was ready.